The galaxy was old. Empires had risen and fallen across thousands of years. Among them, the Galactic Empire stood as the strongest. Its fleets ruled the stars. Its armies had crushed countless worlds. To the Empire, new planets were nothing more than another resource, another subject, another victory. They believed no new species could surprise them. They believed they had already seen everything the galaxy could offer. But they were wrong. Far on the edge of their maps, beyond forgotten trade routes and empty space, there was a small blue planet. To the Empire, it looked unimportant. It was tiny compared to their great worlds, shining with green lands and wide oceans. Their explorers called it nothing more than a primitive sphere. But this world had a name. The people who lived there called it Earth. When the first signals reached Imperial ears, the commanders laughed. Weak radio waves, old satellites, primitive rockets scratching at the edge of orbit. To them, humans were children playing with fire. But as the weeks passed, their laughter began to fade. The signals did not stop. They multiplied. They grew stronger. Humans were not just sending messages into space. They were searching, listening, building. The Empire realized this world was climbing toward the stars far faster than expected. A patrol fleet was sent. Silent ships slipped through the void, their black hulls hidden against the darkness. They arrived at the edge of the solar system and drifted in shadow, careful and unseen. Their mission was simple: watch, record, report, and if needed, prepare the world for conquest. The fleet commander was old and proud. He had seen 100 species fall before Imperial power. To him, Earth would be no different. But even in his arrogance, he felt something strange. The signals coming from this world were chaotic and unpredictable. They were filled with music, arguments, laughter, and anger. He heard stories carried on invisible waves, full of war and hope, full of violence and dreams. The commander could not understand why this primitive world shouted so loudly into the void, as if daring the galaxy to notice them. From orbit, Imperial drones watched human cities. They saw glowing towers, endless roads, and machines that carried people across the land. They saw strange weapons, flying machines, and oceans filled with ships. The Empire expected stone huts and wooden tools, but they found something else. A species that had already conquered its own planet through struggle and fire. Yet the commander still believed Earth was weak. Humans had no faster-than-light ships. They had no great shields. Their weapons were simple compared to the Empire's fleets. Crushing them would be easy. At least that is what the Empire thought. But humans were not blind. In a cold mountain range, inside a hidden observatory, a small group of scientists stared at their instruments in disbelief. Their radar had picked up a shadow in the sky. At first, they thought it was a mistake. But the shadow moved with purpose. It drifted across the stars in a way no natural object could. They checked again, and each time the signal returned. Something was up there, something watching. The scientists whispered to military leaders. The government stayed silent, afraid of panic. But behind locked doors, the generals began to plan. If this was an enemy, they needed to know. If it was a visitor, they needed to prepare. Humanity had always lived with the unknown, but never like this. The Empire ship drifted above, cloaked in shadow, thinking it was invisible. But deep below, human eyes had already begun to notice. In the commander's chamber, reports came from his crew. Humans were advancing faster than predicted. Their science was growing year by year, their weapons improving. The commander dismissed the concern. He called humans reckless but harmless. Still, in the back of his mind, there was unease. These creatures had survived countless wars against each other. They had faced fire, famine, disease, and still they thrived. Other species had taken thousands of years to reach the stars. Humans were rushing in only a fraction of that time. The commander ordered silence. He would continue the mission, gather data, and report back. To him, this was routine. But far below, on the blue planet, humanity was already stirring. Soldiers stood ready. Scientists studied the sky. Leaders whispered of a presence they could not yet prove. Night after night, the cloaked ship moved above Earth, and night after night, more strange signals rose from the ground. Not just music or stories, but something else. Radar beams sweeping the sky, tracking systems locking on shadows. The humans were searching, and the commander, for the first time, felt the gaze of prey looking back at the hunter. In the stillness of space, two species watched each other. One thought itself invincible. The other thought itself small. But soon both would discover the truth. The Galactic Empire did not expect humans, and the game had just begun. The Galactic Empire believed their cloak was perfect. For thousands of years, their technology had hidden fleets from even the strongest enemies. They thought no primitive world could ever pierce the veil of shadow. But as their black ships floated silently above Earth, humans were already beginning to notice. In underground bases and quiet observatories, strange reports appeared. A young scientist in South America found an unusual signal on her radar. A military technician in Asia saw a flicker in the sky that did not belong to any satellite. An old astronomer in Europe swore he had tracked something moving against the stars. At first, no one believed them. Mistakes, they said. Broken equipment. Human error. But the reports kept coming. Small hints, strange shadows, whispers of something that should not be there. The Empire commander ignored the danger. He believed humans were blind children looking at the night sky. To him, Earth was a playground waiting to be taken. His ship sent out drones, small machines no bigger than birds, to record and scan. They flew across cities, watching from the clouds. They captured faces, weapons, machines. Every second, the Empire gathered more proof that humans were still weak. But the recordings also showed something else. Unlike many species the Empire had conquered, humans were not united under one rule. They were divided into nations, each with their own armies and leaders. Normally, the Empire would see this as weakness. But the commander noticed a strange pattern. Despite their division, humans built weapons far stronger than they should have. They fought endless wars with each other, and somehow they survived. Every war made them smarter. Every defeat made them stronger. No other species the Empire had seen carried such history of conflict. The commander dismissed the thought. He told himself these humans would never be a threat. They had no starships, no interstellar weapons, no real fleet. Yet deep inside, something bothered him. On Earth, governments began to exchange secret messages. Something unknown was in orbit. Some leaders wanted to announce it to the world. Others wanted silence. A few demanded preparation. In hidden rooms, military commanders discussed new projects. Rockets armed with experimental warheads were quietly moved. Satellites were adjusted to scan the skies. Humanity was not ready to reveal its fear. But behind closed doors, the hunt for the Watcher had begun. Meanwhile, humans continued their normal lives. Cities glowed with light. Airplanes crossed the sky. Ships moved across oceans. Billions of people lived without knowing they were being observed. But in hidden laboratories, whispers grew louder. Scientists asked questions their leaders could not answer. What if we are not alone? What if something is watching? What if it is already here? Above them, the Empire's fleet listened to human broadcasts. They recorded voices, songs, and endless arguments on the radio waves. To the aliens, the humans sounded mad. So many voices, so many opinions, never silent. But in that chaos, there was power. Humans created new ideas every day. They fought each other, yet they also invented faster, stronger machines. Their chaos was not weakness. It was fuel. The commander ordered more scans. He wanted every detail of Earth's weapons and defenses. His crew reported strange things. The humans had nuclear weapons that could destroy entire cities. They had submarines that vanished under the oceans. They had missiles that could reach the edge of space. None of this frightened the commander because the Empire had far greater weapons. But the speed at which humans had built them was unnatural. They had moved from fire to atom bombs in only a few centuries. To the Empire, that speed was terrifying. Still, arrogance blinded them. The commander laughed at the thought of humans fighting the Empire. To him, it was impossible. But far below, one human radar station caught something unusual. A small pulse, faint but real, coming from the cloaked ship. The technicians stared at the screen. They were not supposed to see anything, but there it was, a shadow that moved against the stars. They sent the data to their leaders. Secret councils met. Some argued it was just noise. Others whispered that the impossible was true. They decided to stay silent to the public, but they prepared in secret. Humanity had always been divided, but in the face of something unknown, alliances began to shift. Old enemies spoke in quiet agreement. Old rivals shared data. For the first time, humanity began to think as one species, not many nations. The commander of the Empire ship felt no fear. He had seen many worlds rise and fall. He believed he understood the pattern, but he did not know what was building on Earth. He did not see the stubborn fire that burned in human hearts. Above the blue planet, the silent ships continued to watch. Below, humanity whispered, planned, and waited. The hunters thought they were invisible. The prey had already begun to see. The Galactic Empire did not expect humans, and soon they would learn the cost of their mistake. For weeks, the Empire ship remained hidden above Earth. Its commander believed his cloak was perfect. He thought humans were blind, but he did not know the truth. Deep underground in secret rooms filled with glowing screens, humans were already watching him back. It started with a faint signal. A military radar in the mountains picked up something strange. It was weak, almost invisible, but it was real. The signal did not match any known satellite or aircraft. The operators stared at their monitors in silence. They knew what they had found was impossible. Something was up there moving like no human craft could. The data was rushed to the highest levels of command. In secret, generals and scientists met behind closed doors. The debate was fierce. Some believed it was just a glitch. Others believed it was proof of something far greater. After hours of argument, they reached one conclusion. The risk was too great to ignore. If something was hiding above Earth, they had to know. The humans decided to test the intruder. While the Empire drifted quietly, confident in its superiority, a plan began to form below. It would not be a greeting. It would not be an invitation. It would be a trap. Engineers worked quickly. Old equipment was modified, new systems rushed into place. Satellites were adjusted to focus on a single point in the sky. Radars were sharpened to scan deeper. Then the final piece of the plan was added, a weapon. Not a missile, not a laser, but something much simpler. An electronic pulse designed to blind and confuse anything that depended on machines. The generals knew it was dangerous. They knew it might fail. But they also knew one thing about humanity. They had never been afraid to fight, even when the enemy was stronger. On the Empire ship, the crew continued their quiet work. Drones circled the planet, collecting endless information. The commander read the reports with satisfaction. He saw humans building, fighting, inventing. He admired their speed, but he was not worried. To him, they were still nothing more than children with toys. Then came the moment of silence. Without warning, a pulse of energy shot from the surface of the Earth. It spread across the atmosphere. Invisible to the human eye, but deadly to machines. It reached the Empire ship in seconds. For the first time in centuries, an Imperial cloak failed. Alarms screamed across the alien ship. Screens flickered. Systems went dark. For a brief moment, the mighty vessel was naked above Earth, glowing like a shadow torn open by light. On the ground, human radar stations cheered. They saw it. A massive shape hidden until now revealed against the stars. They had proved it was real. The intruder was not a dream, not a ghost, but a ship. And it was watching them. The Empire commander was furious. He demanded answers from his crew. How could a primitive world break their cloak? It was unthinkable. No other species had ever done this. Yet somehow these humans had struck the first blow. The commander ordered his systems restored. He told his crew to erase the pulse, to re-engage the cloak, to hide once more. But the damage was done. The humans now knew. The prey had seen the hunter. On Earth, leaders received the proof. Photos, signals, data, all showing the shape of something massive above the planet. There was no longer any doubt. Something alien was here, and now the humans faced a choice. Should they announce it to the world and risk panic? Or should they prepare in silence, waiting for the next move? In hidden rooms, the decision was made. Silence. But silence did not mean weakness. Armies were quietly moved. Satellites were armed. Secret projects accelerated. Humanity would not wait for the Empire to strike first. The commander above Earth underestimated the danger. He believed the humans were still too weak to matter. To him, the pulse was nothing more than luck. But deep inside, he could not shake the truth. His ship had been touched. His cloak had been broken. And the species below had dared to fight back. For the first time, the Empire commander looked down at Earth not as prey, but as something else. Something unpredictable. Something dangerous and far below humanity, prepared for the unknown. They had sent their first message into the dark. It was not spoken with words. It was spoken with defiance. The message was clear. We see you, we are not afraid, and we will fight. The Galactic Empire did not expect humans, and the first mistake had already been made. The Empire ship floated above Earth like a dark shadow. Its commander sat in silence, anger burning inside him. Never before had a primitive world touched Imperial technology. Yet humans had done it. Their pulse had cut through the cloak, even if only for a moment. That single act was enough to shatter centuries of imperial arrogance. The commander refused to admit fear. He told himself it was only an accident, only luck. But his crew looked at him with unease. If humans could strike once, they could strike again. And if one small pulse had revealed their ship, what else could these strange creatures do? Below on Earth, the situation had changed forever. Hidden governments and military councils now had proof. They had seen the shape of something vast orbiting above. The secret could no longer be denied. The intruder was real. Humanity was no longer alone. But instead of fear, something else spread through the human leaders. Determination. For thousands of years, humans had fought enemies stronger than themselves. They had survived disease, fire, famine, and endless wars. They had learned one thing above all others: never surrender without a fight. In a hidden command center, generals stared at screens showing the blurred outline of the alien ship. They knew their weapons were weak compared to whatever power it carried. But they also knew something the aliens did not. Humans fought with more than weapons. They fought with will. The decision was made. Humanity would strike again. Above the planet, the Empire commander ordered his drones to scan deeper. He wanted every human weapon located, every missile silo mapped, every radar destroyed. His arrogance told him this world was still under control. But in his heart, he remembered the pulse. That single flash of human defiance haunted him. The humans launched their move. Satellites were redirected. Beams of radar locked onto the alien ship, tracking it, hunting it. In military bunkers, operators watched as the shadow shifted. For the first time in history, humanity had forced an alien vessel to react. Then came the second strike. Another pulse, stronger this time, ripped through the sky. The Empire ship shuddered as its systems flickered. Cloaking fields collapsed for a heartbeat. The commander slammed his fist on the console. His mighty vessel, pride of the Empire, was being toyed with by a world that had barely touched the stars. Fury filled him. He ordered an immediate counterattack. The Empire drones, small and sleek, dropped into Earth's atmosphere. They streaked through the skies like burning meteors, invisible to the human eye until it was too late. Their mission was clear: test human defenses, measure their strength, and remind them of the Empire's power. But the humans were ready. Fighter jets scrambled into the air. Anti-air systems locked on. For the first time, Earth's armies fought not against each other, but together against a common enemy. The first drone was destroyed by a missile over the Pacific Ocean. The second was shot down by ground fire near a desert base. The third was captured when it crashed into the mountains. The Empire expected humans to panic. Instead, they adapted. They fought. They even seized alien technology from the wreckage, dragging it into secret labs for study. The commander was stunned. Other species would have surrendered after a single show of imperial force. But these humans were different. Every attack only made them stronger. Every loss only taught them more. They were learning even as they fought. The clash was no longer silent. The game of shadows had become a battle of wills. The Empire demanded obedience. Humanity answered with resistance. The old pattern of conquest no longer applied. This was something new. From orbit, the commander sent a furious report to his superiors. He warned that humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and stubborn. But far away in the heart of the Empire, his warning was dismissed. They believed him cautious, even weak. To them, Earth was just another primitive world. They told him to finish the job. Crush the humans, break their spirit, but the commander knew better. He had seen the fire in them. He had felt their defiance, and deep inside a thought grew that he dared not speak. Perhaps the Empire was wrong. Perhaps these humans were not prey. Perhaps they were something far worse. On Earth, leaders celebrated their small victories in silence. They knew the real battle had only just begun. But for the first time in history, humanity stood united against an enemy from the stars. Their message was clear: we will not bow, we will not break. The Galactic Empire did not expect humans. And now, the clash of wills had begun. The Empire thought the drones would terrify Earth. They believed humans would see the shining machines and surrender in fear. But instead, something else happened. The drones were hunted, destroyed, and even captured. For the first time, the hunters became the hunted. In hidden labs, human scientists crowded around the wreckage of a fallen drone. Its black metal body was scorched, but its secret still lived inside. The scientists worked without rest. They cut, scanned, and tested every piece. What the Empire considered advanced beyond comprehension, humans treated as a puzzle waiting to be solved, and piece by piece they began to understand. Weeks passed, and already humans had copied small parts of alien design. A new power source here, a strange alloy there. Nothing perfect, nothing complete, but enough to make progress that should have taken decades. Humanity had always been fast learners. Now, with alien machines in their hands, they were learning faster than ever. The Empire commander received the reports with disbelief. His drones should have been untouchable. Instead, humans had pulled them apart like curious children playing with toys. But these children were not simply playing. They were building. From orbit, the commander ordered new probes to be sent. This time they were smaller, sharper, designed to study humans without being caught. But the humans had changed. They were watching the skies, scanning constantly. They had learned the signs. And one by one, even the smaller probes began to vanish. In military bases across Earth, leaders smiled in quiet satisfaction. Their people did not know the truth. The public still lived in peace, unaware of the silent war above. But the ones in power knew. Humanity had scored its first victories. Small, yes, but victories nonetheless. The Empire could not ignore it. The commander sent a desperate message to his emperor. He warned of human danger. He described their speed, their resilience, their refusal to yield. But far away in the shining core of the Empire, the message was dismissed. The emperor and his council laughed. To them, Earth was still nothing more than a backward rock. They told the commander to stay the course, to prepare for the arrival of the fleet. But the commander's heart was uneasy. He had studied many species before. Some surrendered instantly. Some resisted for a short while. None had ever fought like this. None had ever adapted this quickly. Humans were different. On Earth, unity was spreading. Nations that once hated each other now shared secrets. Enemies exchanged information. Generals who once planned against each other now sat at the same table. The reason was simple. They all understood the truth. The threat above them was not against one nation, but against all of humanity. For the first time, humans began to think as one people. In underground bunkers, engineers designed new weapons. They took human missiles and added fragments of alien alloys. They studied captured circuits and reshaped them into prototypes. Nothing was perfect, but everything was progress. Every week, humanity became more dangerous. The Empire commander finally decided to test them again. He ordered his fleet to send more drones, this time armed, to show Earth the true meaning of power. The drones streaked into the atmosphere, weapons glowing. They struck at human radar stations, military bases, and even ships at sea. Explosions lit the night sky. The commander expected panic, but humans did not panic. They fought back. Fighter jets swarmed into the skies, chasing drones at speeds no other species had dared. Submarines surfaced and fired missiles into the air. Anti-air batteries tracked targets and fired with deadly precision. The battles were short, brutal, and loud. When the smoke cleared, Earth still stood. The drones were gone. The commander sat in silence. His ships had not been defeated, but they had not won either. And worse, the humans had captured more wreckage. Each fallen drone became another gift, another lesson, another step forward for Earth. In a mountain laboratory, a young scientist whispered as she touched a glowing piece of alien tech. "We can use this." Her words were simple, but they carried a truth that shook the galaxy. Humanity was not afraid of alien machines. Humanity was ready to steal them, change them, and make them better. The Empire commander finally understood. This was not just a primitive species. This was a predator waiting to rise, and if the Empire was not careful, these humans would not just defend themselves, they would counterattack. The Galactic Empire did not expect humans. But Earth was already preparing for war. The skies above Earth were no longer silent. Pieces of broken drones fell like burning stars, crashing into oceans, deserts, and mountains. Humans dragged the wreckage into secret bases, studying every wire, every circuit, every strange alloy. Each crash was not a loss but a gift. The Empire thought their attacks would crush human spirit. Instead, they fed it. In bunkers beneath cities, leaders met in shadowed rooms. For centuries, they had fought each other, building armies against rival nations. But now those old rivalries seemed meaningless. The threat above them did not care about borders. It did not care about flags or languages. It saw only one thing: humans. And so, for the first time in history, Earth began to act like a single world. Scientists shared discoveries across secret channels. Engineers worked side by side, not as enemies but as allies. Soldiers trained with new discipline, preparing for an enemy no one had ever faced before. The world was not yet united in peace, but it was united in survival. Above them, the Empire commander watched in disbelief. His reports were sent daily to the Emperor, filled with warnings. He described the speed of human progress. He explained how humans turned every piece of wreckage into knowledge. He admitted what no commander of the Empire had ever admitted before. This world was dangerous, but in the great halls of the Empire, his words were ignored. The Emperor sat upon a throne of stars, his council filled with arrogance. To them, Earth was a small problem, nothing more than an insect beneath their feet. They had crushed empires far greater. How could a primitive world matter? The commander was ordered to continue the mission. The fleet would arrive soon, Earth would fall, but the commander felt doubt. He had seen the fire in human eyes. He had felt their defiance, and he began to wonder if the Empire had made its greatest mistake. On Earth, changes came quickly. Factories once built for cars now forged weapons. Research centers once studying medicine now studied alien alloys. Energy grids were reshaped to power experimental machines. Humanity was adapting faster than ever before. In a hidden mountain base, scientists unlocked a piece of alien technology, a small power core taken from a drone. Within days, they built a crude but working copy. It was unstable, dangerous, and incomplete, but it worked. What should have taken centuries of research took only weeks. Humanity was learning at a terrifying speed. The generals watched with awe. Every weapon was stronger. Every system was faster. Humanity was no longer preparing to defend. They were preparing to fight back. Meanwhile, whispers spread among the people. Strange lights in the sky. Rumors of secret projects. Fear began to grow. Some demanded answers. Some prayed. But the truth remained hidden. Governments knew panic would destroy unity. The people could not yet know. Not until it was too late to turn back. Above them, the Empire commander tightened his grip on his fleet. He had wanted to crush Earth quickly, but orders chained him. He was to wait until the great fleet arrived, and so he watched as humans sharpened their claws. He began to study humans differently, not as prey, not as a problem, but as a puzzle. Why did they rise so fast? Why did they never surrender? Other species broke under pressure. Humans grew stronger. Other species feared death. Humans accepted it and fought harder. Their history was not one of peace, but of endless struggle. And struggle had made them dangerous. In the Empire, reports spread of Earth's defiance. Some dismissed it. Others laughed. But a few whispered fear. If these humans continued to rise, what would they become? Back on Earth, in a secret council meeting, leaders made a decision. Humanity would no longer wait for the enemy to strike again. They would build weapons not only to defend, but to strike back. Earth would no longer be the hunted. It would become the hunter. Factories burned with light. Ships were modified with alien parts. Missiles were upgraded with stolen power. Humanity was no longer crawling toward the stars. They were leaping. The commander looked down at Earth and felt something he had not felt in centuries. Unease. He could see the storm building. He could see the moment approaching when humans would no longer be prey. They would stand as equals or perhaps as something greater, and still the Emperor ignored him. Still the fleet had not arrived. Time was slipping away, and with every day humans were rising higher. The Galactic Empire did not expect humans. But now humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was preparing to rise. The stars above Earth burned with quiet light, but the silence of space was broken by a storm. The great fleet of the Galactic Empire had arrived. Dozens of colossal ships, their hulls shining like dark mountains, drifted into orbit. Each one carried weapons that could level entire cities. Each one carried soldiers who had conquered countless worlds. To the Empire, Earth was already finished. From his command throne, the fleet admiral sneered. He saw the blue planet and felt nothing but contempt. "A primitive world," he whispered. "This will be quick." Around him, his officers nodded with pride. They had crushed empires far greater than this. Humanity to them was only another name on a long list of the conquered. But the commander who had been watching Earth for weeks did not smile. He had seen what the others had not. He had felt the fire of humanity. His warnings had been ignored, and now he waited in silence, knowing what was about to happen. On Earth, alarms rang in underground bunkers. Radar screens lit up with the shadows of the massive fleet. The time for secrecy was over. Humanity could no longer hide. Leaders looked at each other.